So if you have been following along and you watched the vlog called People Watching, and you remember the guy that I talked about that was a kind of like a Walking Dead zombie going through the parking lot, I finally figured out what he is up to. I see him all the time, and he's actually looking for cigarettes. That's why he looks so like bizarre, because his eyes are down on the ground and he's looking for like the butts of cigarettes that people have left. I saw him find a couple of them, and now that's how I knew what he's up to. And he comes to the parking lot like 4 or 5 times a day and scours it. And I bet you he gets a lot of cigarettes. Maybe not nowadays because everything is so, there's an ant on the windshield. Anyway, it's on the outside. Maybe not nowadays because they're so expensive, but I've seen people just throw almost a whole cigarette. You know how some people like take 2 puffs and then they throw it away? That's what he is on. And he finds, I said he was cracked out, and he's cracked out on nicotine. I said he was something like that. And he was on one for sure, but apparently it's just nicotine, or something is fueling his want for nicotine. And that's what he's doing. Pacing, it looks like he's pacing, but he's actually just scouring. Very interesting, right? Hello friends, how are you today? I'm coming to you from another beautifully overcast day. And I really feel like my perfect ideal weather is overcast with no chance of rain. That's how the mornings are by the beach. It's like very chilly, overcast weather, but there's 0 chance of precipitation. And I know that I don't really think there's a place on earth that has that, but ideally it would be like this all day and then the moon would come up. I love it. But that's all I really wanted to say. Oh, and also, I think I might stop numbering the vlogs because the numbers really, I don't like them. I don't like counting the days being out here. And I like just having the names. So I think probably going forward, I'll just be doing the names for the vlogs. And I don't know what else to say. I don't really have much else to say today. I don't know. But hopefully I will, and I'll come back. So Clementine and I made it to the library, and we're just waiting for it to open. Today is sunny. The overcast that I mentioned before broke away about 10:30, and it is a very warm day. And it is the difference between me having a good outlook on life and me having a pretty crappy one. Yesterday was a pretty stressful day. I had to do a lot of running around, and it was, at the end of it, I was just like, that was not a bad day. Why? And I looked back on it, and it was because the overcast stayed around until about like 1 o'clock, which just tells me I just got to get out of this sun. I function much higher without the heat and the sun. The only thing is, I was researching this last time I was in the library. All of the places that are further north, that are by the coast or anywhere where the weather is good, they don't have, it's not as conducive to car dwelling, or just for me specifically, because they don't have Planet Fitnesses. And basically, when you're a car dweller or something, you kind of revolve around a gym where you can take a shower. That's like home base. And places further up, I think they're just fancier neighborhoods, and they have nicer gyms. So it makes it very difficult. But I just feel like I would be functioning a lot better higher up. And if I was going to try to settle down somewhere and make a life, it would definitely not be in a place that gets this hot. Period. And Southern California is beautiful, especially compared to Las Vegas. But I would just really like to be out of the sun. I really would. I'm not like a Pacific Northwest type of person either. I'm like Goldilocks with dark hair. I just am never satisfied, but I just wish there was a place on earth, like I mentioned earlier, that had overcast weather all the time with no chance of rain. Is there? If there is, let me know. Actually, I guess now would be a good time to talk numbers. Since on social media, that really is, seems to be something that matters. My views are very low, obviously. Not obviously, but as you can tell, probably. Basically, I don't get that many views. I do have at least, I don't know if it's 20 people or around that, at least, who watch the vlogs, which I really appreciate if there are actually 20 plus people who do that. And like I said, even if you are just being nosy or a hater, I do appreciate you paying attention at all. Because that's cool. And YouTube sent me an email a couple of weeks ago when I got to 20 followers, and I have 41 now. And so I'd like to thank all 41 people who have decided to follow me, because that is really nice of you, because I know that it is probably a little bit strange, some of the content. So I just love when anybody connects to what I have to say, because I do know it's kind of out there. So if somebody actually genuinely sees it and likes it for whatever reason, even if it's just that I pass the vibe check for you, I really, really do enjoy that. And the strange thing about me is, like, I really have zero desire for what would be called like fame or celebrity, but I do feel like I have something very important to say, and I want as many people as possible to hear it. And so that's really strange. And I think that that energy that I put out is kind of confusing even to the universe, because like, it's, well, do you want it or not? Because I do want a bunch of eyes on what I'm doing, but I don't necessarily want them on me. Or, you know what I mean? I just want for people to get the information and the content, which is why I wrote a book, because that's kind of a way to really have your content out there, but kind of remove yourself from it, because people are just reading the book. But the book is so strange, I think, and there's just so much going on in it, that I felt it would be necessary for me to put my actual personality out there. Mostly so you can see that it is about the same as the book. I mean, it is as bizarre and I think funny and all over the place as the book is, my personality and my life. And so with that, it comes a certain amount of exposure. So that is very strange to me, especially now when I'm in a position where I feel very, what's it called? Like degraded. Like I'm sitting here living in a car. I definitely do not want to be exposed at this time, but it's really part of the story and part of the book. I lived like this for 5 years. But I really do hope that me doing this, again, more is on my part, hopefully for the greater good. I keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing all of this for the greater good. And I feel, because my heart is in the right place, that I have to succeed, because that is just how goodness and light works. And despite all the devil energy that seems to be given so much space to roam and run on this planet, at the end of the day, goodness and light comes in, and even just with one spark can shut the whole rest of that negativity down. And that is what I hope to do without being too egomaniacal about it. And I'm not seeking any level of success or fame from this. I know that those things come with great achievement, so that makes sense. And that's the order in which it makes sense. Anything else is less than, in my opinion. And the crazy thing is, even though there aren't that many people watching, and I don't get a lot of engagement on the videos, it really does help me to be able to at least let these things out online, because I don't have any friends. I don't have anybody to talk to. I can't call somebody and tell them this story. So it is really nice to be able to at least let it out here, even though nobody's really engaging in that way. It's almost like I'm still doing everything that I'm doing in a bubble, but there is something very healing and cathartic about being able to let it out at all. That was one thing that really frustrated me about the previous 5 years of being in the car. I had nobody to talk to. So it was kind of torturous, honestly, because all of these situations, I just had to suffer through them and deal with them on my own. And I still have to do that now, but at least I can let it out somewhere. And that's really, really helpful. So again, I would like to thank anybody who is following along, because it means a lot. But it is surprising how much better I feel just being able to put it on to the camera. I just like being able to get it out. It just makes me feel better. Though I wish I had a friend. Like, this is really freaking weird, because what the heck? Like, okay, I'm done. I'm really not a numbers person. I'm more of a words person. I'm actually really, really bad at math. Like, where I have to do basic math on my fingers. It's like severely, severely challenged when it comes to math. Like, I always barely skated by. I don't think I got higher than a D in any math class I ever took in school the entire time. And I had to take my college level math class 3 times to get the D. I'm really, really bad. When it comes to money, it's a lot different. Like, especially like my money. Do you know, that's not math. It's a whole different vibe. But just basic math skills for me, very, very zero. The complete opposite of my language skills. Almost like such a deficiency that you would think that I got nothing when it came to that. My dad's really good at math, like a computer. He's as good at math as I am at words. Look at an entire bill, and he would get the bill and know the numbers and see if the bill was off. And a lot of times it was, even if it was just by a few pennies, he could just look at it. And I did not get that at all. So numbers are not, and I'm not a competitive person. So like keeping score and all that kind of thing is not even for me. Now, I do think that you should keep score, obviously, but I don't care what the score is. But I like the idea of the competition, but I really don't care what the score is. Because I don't care about the numbers. And I just really do prefer words. And I know that there's a lot of people who prefer numbers. And math and numbers are a universal language in a way that language, like with words, is not. So that's also really interesting as well, because there is a whole world out there that is really more numbers focused, a different type of personality that's opposite to mine. And a lot of things come with that. I think a more easygoing nature is a person who's like into words. Numbers are finite and they're very structured, and they do have like an endpoint. And that's why I'm better at cooking even than I am at baking. I am really not good at baking. Because it's not just numbers, it's also kind of science. And baking is really interesting because you can take the same ingredients and make like different things depending on the temperature of like flour, butter, eggs, and sugar can make so many different things depending on the temperature of the butter or what you put with what first. Like if you put the flour with the eggs first, or if you put the butter with the flour first, it makes a whole different thing, which is really interesting. And that is also a lot of numbers because you have to measure everything correctly. And the measurement is even interesting because some people will like scoop out a quarter of a cup, and then some people pour a quarter of a cup in like one scoop at a time, and that changes the baking. And that stuff is really confusing to me. I would rather just be able to put as much spice or leave as much out as possible and do what I want to do. And that's more just like freeform. Where words are more freeform and number is more structured, cooking is more freeform and baking is more structured. And anything that's really super structured and there's a lot of rules to it, even if the rules end up being the right thing, like in baking, there's a lot of rules. I just really have a problem sticking to them like that. And even when I try, it usually comes out weird. One time I tried to make biscuits and I had to turn it into pie crust, and it was still crappy pie crust. But it was like the way that I could save it. I did something wrong, and I think it might have been with the math.